Hey guys and gals, how's it going out there? A dozen things that are so right about the sports card hobby. These things are not broken. Do not fix them. I just sat down and literally just maybe 5 minutes or less, I wrote out a dozen things that came to my mind. I'm going to share them with you in the order they came to me. So without further ado, let's do it. All right, thing number one that is so right about the sports card hobby today, you can upgrade. Now, I define upgrade as going up, going down, or staying at the same grade. This is a case of staying at the same grade. I started with a PSA 1. I sold it. I bought it in 2023 at the Nationals, sold it this year, and then bought an SGC 1. Upgrading my 38 Gaudy Heads Up Jody with cartoons in a pristine 1. Woohoo! Oh yeah. Enjoy them while you have them, and then upgrade, downgrade, sideways grade. I don't know how meaningful that is, sideways grade. I don't know if it conveys what I meant to say, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Now we're moving on to the number two thing that is so right about the sports card hobby today. You can get advice from wise and experienced hobbyists. Let me give you an example. Eric, those back pages. He's checked out my videos where I am collecting Barry Bonds, and he's made some comments, some suggestions. I have taken note, Eric. He's talked about how you cannot overestimate the importance of early chromium. All right. Never before shown on my channel. Oh man, 2001 Bowman Chrome Barry Bonds X-Fractor. Man, this thing just blows me away. I mean, look at that. The red, the black. Wow. I am super stoked to have this. Yeah, I've had it for maybe a couple weeks, but have not shown it off yet. Got it at auction before the National. I think it was like a couple $100 or even a little bit less, which, I think just a fantastic buy. There's probably a couple hundred of these. They are not serial numbered, but based on the insertion rates, you can kind of deduce how many there are. I mean, look at that. What an epic year for Barry Bonds. Oh, man. Super stoked. All right, some of these tips. Some of these examples could fall into several of the tips, but I'm using this example for several of these things that are so right about the hobby. I'm using this example for the third thing, which is inspiration from others. So Dylan of Double D Vintage Baseball Cards, he inspired me to get this card. Let's check it out. Oh, the 23 Topps Chrome, Aaron Judge, MVP buybacks, autograph, first year of the MVP buybacks program. Look at that. Stamp 2022 MVP autograph. And then look at that gorgeous Judge auto. And there are only 22. Yes, you're seeing this right. This is the 2022 Topps Chrome Aaron Judge refractor. However, it was bought back by Topps, and then it was stamped and Judge signed and serial numbered and inserted back into 2023 Topps Chrome, where some lucky person, the lucky person I bought this from, actually pulled it from a pack. And so Dylan, my good friend Dylan, said, have you considered one of those? I was working on 62 variations of the 2022 Topps Aaron Judge. And Dylan, we're clubbies. He's got this card as well. He's got one of the 22. He said, have you considered getting one of those? And I wasn't thinking about spending that kind of money. But I tell you what, it's a bargain now. For what I paid at that time, I'm sure it's a bargain now. Look at that Judge auto. So yeah, that is tip number 3. Thank you, Dylan. We can be inspired by others. Of course, this could also fall into tip number 2. Advice from the wise and hobby experienced, but I'm using this card for tip number 3. Be inspired, take your collection to the next level or in a new direction, or do it in a different way. One of the things that's so right about the sports card hobby, you can find plenty of inspiration from others. if you're looking for it, just see where their passion is, see where their knowledge is, and, see what inspires you. Woohoo! All right, the number 4 thing that is so right about the sports card hobby, I keep wanting to say like tip number 4, but no, it's not a tip. It's just something that's so right about the sports card hobby. In a world where people are always trying to sell you stuff and, pressure you or manipulate you to buy or to get an extra buck out of you. In this sports card community, there is so much generosity. The generosity of others. The example I have, Shane Shoebox Legends had 2 of these. He knew that this would fit really well in my collection of at least 62 variations of the 2022 Topps Aaron Judge. And so he traded his extra to me. Now, he would have gifted it to me, I think, but we did a trade. And so I could have shown a gift. I have gotten plenty of gifts from hobby friends. Those gifts are certainly fantastic examples of generosity. However, this is generosity as well because, he was willing to trade this beautiful black beauty, this stunning black beauty. He didn't have to. He could have hung on to both copies for himself, or he could have, very likely sold it for more than whatever the value of the trade was that we did. So another excellent, just a fantastic example. Thank you, Shane, of hobby generosity. One of the things that is so right about this wonderful sports card hobby. The number 4 thing that is so right about the sports card hobby that is not broken, that does not need to be fixed, and that is your opportunity and my opportunity to be generous. Woohoo! All right, the 87 Classic Travel Yellow Barry Bonds. Now, this is the greenback, which is a little bit tougher, but there's also a glorious yellowback. I have the yellowback as well, but I would have to dig for it. This was easier to come up with the greenback, so I'm using it to represent. The yellowback as well is relatively low pop as far as Barry Bonds rookies go. And some time ago, a few years back, I bought maybe about 6 of them at a really great price, all mint 9, bundle and save. Oh yeah. I kept one. Again, this is the greenback, but I've got the one yellowback that I kept. And I gave the other mint 9s to hobby friends over time. And so that is, that's just a blast. I really I don't expect people to send me things. And, I'm totally fine not getting things, the friendship, the camaraderie, having, collecting brothers and sisters, that's plenty for me. But I appreciate it when someone sends me in the mail. Mostly I'm just, touched and honored that they would think of me and do that. However, I get more joy out of sending things out to other people. And so this represents, this card, the opportunity. One of the things that's so right about the sports card hobby today is the opportunity to be generous. And I think it helps me because I don't want to, me personally, I don't want to get so wrapped up in my own collection, really in my own, just thinking about myself with everything that I'm not thinking about others. So I think giving gifts at times to others is something I really like to do. I think it helps me to put my focus on other people, and it's exciting. It's fun. I tell you what, and in a world, as I mentioned, where, there's so much manipulation to try to sell and, get you to spend more and squeeze some more dollars out of you, I just love the totally opposite approach of being generous, giving things away, gifting people. I don't show my address like if it's on a package. We're careful in this community not to show somebody's address when we open a care package. But the reality is if I showed my average on the screen, what it would probably lead to is just a bunch of people sending me stuff. That's how wonderful this community is. All right, we're going to move on to tip number 5. Not tip. No, it's not a tip. Dang it. Come on, Adam. The number 5 thing that is so darn right about the sports card hobby. And that is building lifelong friendships. What sort of a value can you put on lifelong friendships? Now, I've only been collecting vintage baseball cards for 5 years. I'm 61 now, so when we say lifelong friendships, well, hey, I started collecting vintage baseball cards when I was about 56. But, it depends on when you get started for sure. And I've got some people within the hobby that are becoming good friends that I sense will be friends for life. I mean, how cool is that? You can't put a price on that. And, people that are acquaintances, people that I'm becoming closer to as hobby brothers, and some people that I think will be friends for life. And, I'm not going to start naming a bunch of names because I'm sure I would leave somebody out that unintentionally, but I'm just going to name one name, and this will be my example card. The 59 Fleer Ted Williams. One of the players I collect is Ted Williams, and this card to me is just, there's something special about this card. There's something unique about this image of this card, number 24 in the 59 Fleer Ted Williams set. But more than that, what makes this card so special, it's a gift to me from Doug, DK Cardboard, who has not been making much content recently, but hopefully he'll be back in the saddle before we know it. And so I think I can confidently say that Doug and I are building a lifelong friendship, and I am just honored and humbled, Doug. And of course, many of you as well, I'm getting to know more. We can't be best friends with everyone, obviously. There's only so much time we really connect well with certain people, but I'm gaining multiple lifelong friends. One of them is Doug. That is the number 5 thing that is so right about the sports card hobby today. It's not broken. It does not need to be fixed. Woohoo! All right. Number six, you can change directions at will. And I think that is more powerful, more meaningful than we may realize. In a world where so much is out of our control, at work, so many things are out of our control, or maybe we are retired. There's still so many things that are out of our control, or we can maybe influence. But in collecting, we can pretty much do what we want. We can change collections at will. Of course, we may have some space constraints. We may have some budget constraints, but short of that, it's an area where we can do it our way. Everyone has their unique collecting style. So what card have I chosen to represent this thing that's so right about the sports card hobby? Well, last year, prior to the 2024 National, I thought, hey, maybe I can snag one of these fantastic deals online. So on eBay, there was this card. I offered what I thought was too low of an offer to be accepted, and it was. And I said, all right, this card is going to become the cornerstone, for me to collect all of the Hall of Famers, a Hall of Famer run for this set. And here it is. Better have those socks nailed down because this will blow your socks off. The 52 Bowman Mickey Mantle. In an exceptional vintage greatness plus 4.5. The registration, the color, the freshness. This thing just radiates. Look at that, radiates. The colors just radiate right off of the surface there. Look at that. This might be my favorite card of the Mick. I think it's fair to say, I mean, the 52 Topps, of course, is more iconic. But just as far as the image goes, this is my favorite right here. Wow. So, you can change directions at will. And, that's adding. You could be tweaking. You could be adding a new area to your collection. You could be selling some things off to go in a different direction. It's something that we can control. It's something that we can play with and do it our way. Most things in life, there's going to be some level of compromise. It's not going to be entirely our way. In fact, it might not be our way at all. But collecting, and I think that really helps us, in collecting, where we have something that we can do it our way, we can organize it our way, we can, there's so many unique ways to collect. I think, that's great. I think that's healthy, really healthy for us. I think it's a great way to kind of de-stress. So that's number 6. Let's move on to number 7. All right. Number 7 is The Hunt. The Hunt. I was at the National this year looking to add, I was hoping to add, maybe, at least one. Maybe I was hoping maybe 2 or 3 of the 38 Goudy heads up with cartoons, those 24 glorious cards. And it was a cartoon fast. I spent probably 8 or 9 hours on the National floor. Couldn't find one that would work for me. Didn't even see that many. And then I found 2 and I scarfed those up and I was so stoked. I went from famine to feast and I had 2 and I was like, wow, if I buy nothing else at the National, this year, I am stoked. And then about maybe a half hour later, I'm ballparking it. The hunter had hunted down the card that I wanted the most, but I did not expect to find very many or the right one at the National, and boy, did the right one come along. I've got the DiMaggio, I showed that. I've got the Feller. This is the third one. This is the third, most expensive one. So this is the Greenberg that I really, really wanted with cartoons. Got it for, I think, a fantastic buy. It was $800. And there it was. And oh man, I was hoping I'd like it, because I hadn't inspected it yet. So I was hoping I'd like its condition. Absolutely love it. Look at that. Look at the vintage appeal on this. Look at those vintagey corners. This is a 10 for perfect vintaginess. Oh yeah, the Hank Greenberg in a 10. Yeah. So the price was right, the look is right, the grade is right because that helps the price be right. And, super, super stoked to have it. So I was hunting for that one, but I wasn't expecting to find the right copy of the National, as I mentioned, but I did. Super stoked. Now, what do I like more, the hunt or the have, the having of the card? For me, it's having the cards for sure. It's not primarily about the hunt. It's primarily about having the cards and enjoying them. But I also really like the hunt. Well, I wasn't liking it as much when I was fasting. I was in the hunt famine, but then once I got to the feasting, oh yeah, woohoo! Well, this is the time in the video where I once again say, here I am, a professional mathematician, and I may have miscounted. So let's just kind of review really quickly. Number 1, you can upgrade, my DiMaggio upgrade. And then let's see, number 2, you can get advice from the hobby wise and hobby experienced. And then the number 3 thing that's so right about the sports card hobby today, inspiration from others. And then let's see, number 4, the generosity of others. And number 5, opportunity to be generous. And number 6, lifelong friendships, the gift. From Doug, DK Cardboard. Number 7, change directions at will, something we can control and morph with our own collecting style. So that is number 7. Number 8, the hunt, the Greenberg, hunted down when I did my big game cartoon hunting at the National this year. This is going to be a baker's dozen plus a bonus tip. So we are now on to number 9, which is we're collecting stores of value, or stored value. So let me show this beauty. The Red Heart Dog Food Stand Mutual in a 10-4, good buddies, meaning the numbers of 4, but it's really a 10. The little bit of wear enhances the vintage appeal. The little bit of toning enhances the vintage appeal, so that this is actually an 11 or a 12. It transcends the grading scale. Woo! Oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man. Now, is this a blatant excuse to show this card again? You damn right it is. Yes, it is. Don't like to cuss, but hey, damn is, well, The floodgates have opened because we are looking at the definition of glorious. I think if you look up glorious, I know it has religious connotations, but if you look it up in the card collecting manual, I think it says the 54 Red Heart Dog Food Stan Musial. Oh, is there a more glorious card or what? So that's I think I might have called these tips, but that is number 9 of the things, the baker's dozen now of things that are so right about the sports card hobby, and that is that we're collecting stores of value. Now, I don't see myself selling that card. Absolutely love it. But if I wanted to, it's got value. It's almost certainly worth more than I paid, especially with the centering and the eye appeal on that. However, even if it were worth the same amount that I paid, or even if it were worth a little bit less and I could sell it and only get, say, let's say 70% of my money back, how many hobbies can you do that in? Like if you're skiing, you don't expect to get 70% of your money back. You don't expect to get any of it back unless you're a professional. If you're, bowling, if you're into golf, you don't expect to get money back. You're just, you go to the movies, you spend this money. You don't expect to get money back. You're just spending the money on recreation or entertainment, or if you buy a picture, put it on your wall, you enjoy looking at it, it's probably going to be worth less over time, quite a bit less. Maybe you'll sell it at a garage sale or give it away some years later, unless of course it's collector art. But with cards, we can collect these stores of value, which is really cool. Sometimes they go up quite a bit. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they go down, but they still have value, and we can leverage that value if we want to change directions. How cool is it to have a hobby where over time, even if we're on a meager budget over several years, many of those things may increase in value, or we simply accumulate enough over time so we can leverage what we have, and we can prune our collection and get something big relative to our budget that we've always wanted. That is one of the things that is so right about the sports card hobby. All right, let's see if I can stay on the numbering here. And that is, we're going to move on to number 10. Number 10, we are collecting miniature works of art. How cool is that? The visual appeal of a card is, a driving factor for so many collectors. It is for me as well. It's certainly very high on the list of reasons I collect. I like having these tangible connections to the past, these miniature works of art. Now, whether it's literally looks like art, like this 52 Bowman Mickey Mantle, or the Hank Greenberg Gouty with cartoons, or whether it's just artistic in terms of the design of the card, the photography, we are collecting miniature works of art. For many of us, the look of the card is not the only reason we collect. Of course, there's historic significance of the player, the card, etc., the year. But for many of us, the fact that we're collecting miniature works of art is one of the driving factors in how we collect and what we collect. And so for this thing that is so right about the card hobby, number 10 thing, I'm showing off this stunning and a too good to be true 52 Bowman Willie Mays. I absolutely love this card. Now you're saying this looks like a 2 going on a 5. I know, I'm reading your mind. I know what you're thinking. 2 going on 5. I think so too. The back just has a little mottled paper loss, but you can still make out the words throughout. Fielding, 1951. So that doesn't bother me a bit. This was stuck in an album or something. It's a cardboard back. Heck, that actually enhances the vintage appeal. Let's go back to this glorious front. Wow, wow, wow. I tell you what, now we see the pair. The big 2 from 52 Bowman. And yeah. I tell you what, super stoked to have those. All of these. Let's look at these together. Just vintage art. I'm a collector, among other things, of vintage art. That's why I'm going after, slowly but surely, I got a long way to go, but I have these keys, the 52 Bowman Hall of Fame run over time. I like the 52 Bowman even more than the 51 Bowman. I like these two images much better than the rookie card images on 51 Bowman. Now, I'd like to have those rookie cards as well. I like those as well, but they're a lot more expensive. And I actually like these images much more. So that's why I'm going after 52 Bowman. Now, here's the deal. We've been talking about the things that are so right about the sports card hobby. Lots of people like to rant about what's wrong with it. And hey, if they've been personally affected by what's wrong with it, I can understand that. But here's the deal. Focus on the parts. This is my suggestion, and I'm speaking to myself as well, preaching to myself as well. Focus on the things that are so right. Like if you can't afford 51 Bowman, go after 52. And if you can't afford 52, go after, 53. And if you can't afford 53, go after 54. And if you can't afford 54, go after 55 Bowman with those glorious color TV sets. I actually think probably the prices do kind of sort of go down like that as you go through those Bowman years. But anyway, yeah, that is number 10. We better move on to number 11. So let's do it. All right, notice no cards showing. That's because we are going to need all four stands. The number 11 thing that is so right about the sports card hobby today, and that is the satisfaction of completion. Oh, yeah. And a completion, of course, can be defined in so many ways. For this set, for this business, there aren't that many players that have a card in all four sets from all 4 years. And so if you have the card of each year for one of those players, you have an epic completion. Talk about vintage art. The 52 Red Man Tobacco Yogi Berra with tab. Whoa. I told you this would blow you away. I told you to secure yourself. Hey, if you're scrambling to try to get back to your chair or your house or wherever you are, I did give you a warning there. 1953. Love these frosted holders. They did this one up right. And 1954. By the way, this card represents a bit of, a transformation for me in my collecting. I mean, I've transformed over time. I bought this, and I think it was even maybe a 7 that was at a great buy. But when I got it, I realized the registration was off on his face, and I had a return privilege, so I returned it and kept this one with the fuzzy corners. And I said, you know what? Fuzzy corners, clear face totally trumps sharp corners and fuzzy face. So it was like, yes, grasshoppers. Grasshoppers, when collecting, fuzzy corners with sharp face trumps fuzzy face with sharp corners. And I was like, oh, yeah. And 1955. I can't remember if I showed the back of the 54s, so I will turn this around really quick. The backs are in different colors, which is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and check that out. So this is green for the 52 back, and then red for the 53 back. And then we're back to green for 54, and then we're back to red. Okay, so, they alternated. And is this the golden era or what? Early to mid 50s here. Yeah, completions can be huge, 700 cards. They can be relatively small like these for, I wonder how many people, what I think is kind of cool? I wonder how many people in the world have this completion right here. My guess would be not too many. Super stoked. We're going to move on now to, number 12. The number 12 thing that is so right about the sports card hobby today, it's not broken. Do not fix this. There are so many cool options and ways to collect. I mean, that could be a video that could go on for hours. For example, if there's a card you really like, you can collect multiples. 1, 2, and 3. Oh man, I don't have much into these beauties. I think this is an absolute stunning card. The base card, 84 star Dr. J. Just think if these were Michael Jordan's, what they would go for. Insane amounts of money. But these Dr. J's bring me joy. I actually, he's my favorite player beyond Michael Jordan. I just think Dr. J, poetry in motion, a class act. I mean, I think he's even more poetry in motion than MJ. Although MJ, I'm a huge MJ fan as well. But I tell you what, the 101 from this set, the Michael Jordan, that train has left the station a long time ago. Wouldn't really want to spend that much personally. Would love to have the card, but these, I love getting multiples. And speaking of multiples, the very first star base card, 8384 star, number 1 Dr. J. And I was an opportunist. Maybe I should have went after, 9s. But I got this 6 for a song. And these are tough. These are tough cards. And then sometime later, I got my second example. This is when I thought, I should get a higher grade because I just love this card. Just because, I do think that the higher grades tend to appreciate more, although there's no guarantee. I didn't want to put out, I think it was a nice to price ratio. This 8.5, was a lot less than a 9, and I was able to get it at a great price. So I said, heck yeah, I'll add an 8.5, and I was super stoked to have 2. And then just this year, for a low price, I picked up this PSA 5. Really, really nice card. So I was super stoked to have number 3. And then, just before the National, somebody had this. It was one of those, it was at auction. I think starting bid was like $10 or something. But it was, or you could make an offer before the bidding started. And I offered 40. My offer was accepted. Number 4, this is from the Shanko pedigree. He bought Robert Levin's stock of star cards that he had left over. And notice all that ink saturation. That's part of what makes this excellent or better, which for the other grading companies would be a 5. But this is BCCG. Beckett Card Collecting, I think. Beckett Card Collecting Group. I forget exactly, but something like that. So I thought, what the heck? For $40, my offer of $40 was accepted. I'll take one that's got the over ink saturation. It's still an epic card. Look at that. Just one of the myriad of cool ways to collect. I am super stoked to have all 4 of these. Who knows if I'll have more in the future. But that was number 12. We're going to move on to a baker's dozen. All right, number 13. The number 13 reason in a baker's dozen things that are so right about the sports card hobby. These are not broken. Do not fix these. Now, this might be a little controversial for some, but hey, we all collect in our own way. And that is, you can get scarce cards, rare stuff, or scarce stuff inexpensively. We are talking about, in many cases, the manufactured scarcity. Yes, indeed, like this 2005 Finest Barry Bonds Blue X-Fractor. I mean, this card's going to blow you away. I forgot to give a warning. Secure yourself now if it's not too late. Only 150 of these, and this was not that spendy. So if you pick it, I realize, not very expensive is relative to how much one wants to spend or how much one has to spend. But if you pick and choose, your spots. If you're patient, go for some auctions. You can get some really sweet limited cards inexpensively. I'll tell you what, I absolutely love manufactured scarcity because I like knowing exactly how many there are. Yeah, I love serial numbered cards. How about this 2006 Buddy to the first Barry Bonds Blue X-Fractor? Wow. This is out of 150 as well. I mean, this is just stunning. Absolutely love them. I mean, this is a great time to be in the hobby. A fantastic time. Probably maybe the best time because you don't have to engage in the parts that are not, going well. You can find your lane, enjoy your lane. All right, let's go for a bonus. A bonus thing that is so right about the sports card hobby. And that would be the unexpected and unplanned pickups. So at the 2025 National, not that long ago, here my friend Matt from The Card Story said, hey, I got some teddies for sale. You want to buy an adult teddy? And I said, oh, yeah. I hardly knew this card existed. I think I might have known at one point and then forgot. The 47 Bond bread Ted Williams, the beveled corners so it could go into that bread bag without, cutting through the plastic and drying up the bread. This image to me is just, it's a simple card. It's black and white. There's, it's just a white background. But it's Ted Williams batting in a snow blizzard, as you can tell. And it's got a blank back, but you know what? I love the visual appeal of this card. When I was a young one, because I was born in 1964, we often had black and white photos. They weren't always color. And so this is nostalgic for me. I think this card is just beautiful and elegant in its simplicity, totally unplanned. One of the things that is so great about this hobby, so right, these unplanned purchases. Look at that beauty. Let me turn this camera around. Oh my, this has gotten long. Oh man. Well, I'm all stoked. I hope you're stoked. Hey, if you want, in the comments below, let me know what you think is so right about this hobby. What about the things that are so wrong in the hobby? Hey, save those for somebody's rant video. We'll talk about what's right. Thank you for sharing in my joy. Thank you for sharing in my joy. I hope you had a wonderful and peaceful time in the Vintage Sanctuary. Take care, my collecting brothers and sisters.